Don't get caught unprepared. I'm going to walk you through 6 things you need to know so your ring rental goes perfectly. I'm Mike Quackenbush, and this is Till We Make It. Throughout my career, I've been very fortunate because I've worked in front of the cameras as a pro wrestler, referee, ring announcer, and commentator. And I've worked behind the scenes too, as a promoter, booker, agent, coach, and consultant. And I've gathered up everything I've learned from all of those experiences and more, and I deliver them right here to the Till We Make It YouTube channel, a community repository of wrestling knowledge. And there's even more knowledge to be found over on my Patreon. Earlier this week, I published a video exclusively for my patrons about defeating imposter syndrome. It is one of 70 videos only my patrons have access to, and you can be part of our community for as little as $5. Yeah, you'll be able to start watching those 70 videos, plus you'll get early access to the videos that end up here on the channel before the rest of the world sees them and devoid of ads. Now, I want to move on to the topic of today's video. Let's tackle the 6 things you need to know so that your ring rental goes smoothly. Today's video, and at least one more I'm working on for the channel right now, have sprung out of the recently published video I did called How Much Does a Pro Wrestling Show Cost? In which I talk about the 13 costs you have to consider in order to have a complete show budget. And the same day that published, I got 3 messages from people who wanted more information about renting a ring. And yes, this is a common occurrence in the world of professional wrestling. If you're staging your own live event, you're producing a card, and you don't own your own pro wrestling ring, there are places that will rent you theirs. And in putting all of this together, I leaned on the experience of my friends from Chaotic Wrestling, so I just want to offer a word of thanks to the great folks that run Chaotic for helping me fill in some of the blanks in this video for you. I think it's important to note that just because a pro wrestling promotion owns a ring, or even multiple rings, that does not mean they automatically offer a ring rental service. So for example, if you phoned up WWE corporate headquarters in Stamford, Connecticut and asked to speak to someone about a ring rental, I don't think you're going to get very far, because I've never known that to be a service they readily provide. But if we flip that pancake over, there are individuals and companies out there that do that as their business. That service is exactly what they provide. They rent a ring for a live wrestling event, or a video game commercial, or a music video for a band, or any other number of reasons someone might need a wrestling ring. And some companies own their own ring and still rent them. I can remember at a time when I owned 2 separate wrestling rings, renting a ring anytime I was traveling more than 5 hours from home base, because to transport the ring that distance didn't make good financial sense. It was actually less expensive to rent one locally. If I was heading all the way to Chicago, I'm not hauling one of my rings 12 hours to the west. I'm going to phone up Merle and have him bring his. Okay, let's get into it. There are 6 answers you're going to have at the ready before you place that call. Before you reach out and contact someone about renting their ring, these are the 6 things you need to know. Up first, you're going to have to tell them where the venue is. Where is the building you have rented to put on your event? And why is this? Because most times a ring rental is going to have the gas and the mileage factored into the price that you are quoted. So you're going to have to be able to give them, at the very least, the address and maybe the name of the venue, so they can take a look at how far the ring needs to be transported. That's something that has to be covered before they're even going to reach out about renting a U-Haul or a Hertz or some other moving truck if they don't have a truck of their own. And only about half the ring rental companies out there have their own in-house transportation. The other half of the time, they're just renting a moving truck, just like you or I would do if we're moving from one place to another. And that means they're going to be charged a certain rate for the gas and the mileage on that vehicle. So you need to have that information at the ready. It is most typically the first question asked when you place that call. Where are they taking the ring to? The second thing you need to know before you place that first phone call is when your show is taking place. Because the person renting you the ring will have to make sure they aren't already booked, they have to make sure they have a ring available, and they're going to have to reserve a moving truck in many cases on the back end for the date of your event. And calling someone 3 or 4 weeks before your event about a ring rental is, generally speaking, a recipe for disaster. If you want to have the most options available to you and not find yourself in a real predicament, start making those calls more than 3 months before your event date. Now granted, every once and again, a last-minute ring rental can be arranged. But I've also known people who've ended up in a spot where they had to move their event date because they just assumed they'd be able to find a ring in time, and because they didn't call early enough, there were none available. The third question you'll have to be prepared to answer is this: will you have any crew on hand to assist in the ring rental? So obviously, if someone renting you the ring has to bring a full crew of 8 people with them to set that ring up, in some way, shape, or form, do you know who's going to end up paying for the cost of that crew? You will. It's going to be factored into your price when they quote it to you. But if you have 6 people at the ready to assist them, well then maybe the person renting you the ring only has to bring 1 person along, and you've got an 8-person crew to set a ring up. And in my experience, an 8-person crew is sufficient to get the job done in an orderly fashion. A 10-person crew is terrific, but if you get to 12 people or more, it becomes a little less efficient. There's always a line waiting at the truck for something to come off, or people milling around doing nothing while the frame is being put up. 8 to 10 people is an ideal number. And if you are able to provide some of the people on that crew, it may help you keep the price of your rental down. Up next is the one people always fail to consider, so listen closely. The fourth thing you'll need to know when initiating a ring rental is what size ring your venue can accommodate. And some ring renters out there have multiple sizes of rings for you to choose from. Granted, 2/3 of the world's rings are 18 by 18 in dimension. You're going to be getting an 18 square foot ring most of the time. But if you're going into a very compact venue, well, maybe you have to consider dropping down to something smaller in dimension, like a 16 by 16, or even a 12 by 12 if you should come across one of those. They are a tad rare. In addition to which, if you're in a building with a ceiling that is less than 14 feet, you may want to consider a pony ring option. A pony ring only sits 18 inches off the floor, as opposed to a full profile ring which sits 36 inches off the floor. And you need to know the exact size and shape of the venue you are going into so that you make sure you rent the right size ring. And if you need more information about the various sizes of rings out there, I have a video all about that already on the channel, and I'm going to link you to it at the end of today's video. A pro tip for you: ask if there's any consideration on the price if you book the person renting you the ring or the crew that comes with them on your show. If the person renting you the ring is bringing an 8-person crew along with them, but you offer to book 4 of them in a mid-card tag match, you might be offered a certain consideration to bring the price of the rental down. This is a classic, you scratch my back, I scratch yours in the world of pro wrestling. You end up with a lower price on your ring rental, they end up with experience in front of a live crowd. Everybody wins. Not everybody will offer you this, but I think it is always worth asking about. The fifth thing you've got to be ready to answer when making contact with someone about a ring rental is this: will your show feature any hardcore matches? include any blood, or make use of any foreign objects. And if you're hearing this and you're thinking to yourself, Mike, why would I need to tell that to the person renting me their ring? Here's why. If you are running a blood and guts show, then the person renting you their ring might opt to leave their brand new baby blue canvas at home and bring a black canvas, which makes it easier to hide blood stains. If you're putting on a tournament where every match features barbed wire, they're probably not going to bring the new custom canvas with their logo printed on the center, and instead they're going to bring something with a little more wear and tear on it than that. And take it from me, if you end up ruining, staining, or damaging somebody else's canvas, do you know who's going to get handed the bill for that at the end of the night? You will. If you're getting something out of today's video, won't you please take a second, tap that thumbs up button. Go on, leave a like-a-palooza. I would really appreciate it. Thanks. This sixth one is really important, and it pertains to the day of the event specifically. You need to make yourself available when the ring crew arrives so that you can advise them where you want the ring placed on the floor of the venue. Any seasoned ring crew will not make the assumption that we put it in the dead center of the floor, because there are too many other considerations that need to be thought of. Where are the locker rooms in relation to this? How is it oriented for the lighting rig hanging from the venue ceiling? Where will hard cam be placed? Is the ring going to be squared up with that or angled 45 degrees for better camera shots? So don't assume that the ring crew will just show up and magically place the ring where you want it to be. You need to be available to advise them as the ring is going up. And even a very efficient ring crew is going to need at least an hour to complete the process satisfactorily. And a slow-moving or understaffed ring crew might need 2 to 3 times that amount to get your ring up. I think this warrants a mention. Be gracious to the people renting you their ring. It's a little like being a guest in someone else's house. You don't own that ring, you're just a guest in it for a night. I think if you treat your ring renter and their crew with gratitude and respect, it's going to go a long way toward building a lasting business relationship. Now, as promised, I've got a video for you about the various sizes of wrestling rings, and I've also got one about owning a ring in case that appeals to you more than renting. And if you want to join this roll call of awesome people that you see to the right, follow the link and join our community over on Patreon. We would love to have you join us.